I sat alone in my apartment on my 32nd birthday, staring at my phone. Silent. No calls, no texts from family. Then I opened social media and saw it. My mother's post from last month, showing Derek's 28th birthday. 400 guests. Live band. Custom cake. Champagne fountain. My birthday. Forgotten. Again. Like every year since childhood. But this time, I had $15,000 in my bonus sitting in my account. This time, I was done playing their game. I opened my laptop and started searching for lakefront properties. The search didn't take as long as I thought it would. By midnight, I'd found something that made my heart skip. A small lake house 2 hours outside the city. The listing photos showed a charming cabin on 3 acres with a private dock stretching out into crystal blue water. The place needed work, sure, but it was livable. More importantly, it was mine. Or it could be. The seller was an elderly woman named Margaret. Her listing mentioned she was moving to assisted living and needed a quick sale. The price was $75,000. I had $62,000 in savings, money I'd squirreled away over years of living frugally, while my family constantly asked for loans they never repaid. Add the $15,000 bonus I'd just received from my company, and I had $77,000 total, every penny I owned. I called the listing agent first thing Monday morning. My hands shook as I made the offer. $77,000. Cash. The agent called back within 2 hours. Margaret had accepted. The closing happened 10 days later. I took the day off work, told my supervisor I had personal business to handle. Nobody from my family noticed I was unavailable. Nobody asked. I drove to the title company alone, signed papers for 90 minutes, and walked out with a set of keys that felt heavier than they should have. I drove straight to the property. The afternoon sun turned the lake into liquid gold as I walked through each room of my new home. The cabin had knotty pine walls, a stone fireplace, and windows that framed the water like living paintings. The kitchen was outdated but functional. The bedroom upstairs had a sloped ceiling that made it feel like a treehouse. The dock creaked under my weight, but held steady. I stood at the end of that dock for an hour, just breathing. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I felt something close to peace. This was mine. I'd earned it with my own work. Nobody had given it to me. Nobody could take it away. Before the sun set, I pulled out my phone and took photos. 12 of them. The cabin from different angles. The dock stretching into the water. The sunset painting the sky orange and pink. The view from the porch. Each shot looked professional, like something from a real estate magazine. I drove back to the city that evening with those photos burning in my phone. When I got home, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at them for a long time. Then I opened social media and created a new post. I uploaded all 12 photos, and I wrote one line, birthday gift, to myself. No other explanation, no tags, no location. Just those 4 words. I posted it at 11:47 that night, my actual birthday. I turned off my phone and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept soundly. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My phone had exploded overnight with notifications. The screen showed 17 missed calls from my mother, dozens of texts from my brother Derek, voicemails from my father, messages from aunts, uncles, cousins I barely spoke to. Every single one of them had seen my post, but none of them were wishing me happy birthday. I scrolled through the texts first. Derek's messages started calm but devolved quickly. What did you do? Call me now. Are you serious right now? You selfish piece of garbage. Each message angrier than the last. My mother's voicemails were worse. I listened to the first one. Her voice was shrill, trembling with rage. Ryder, what have you done? How dare you make such a major purchase? without consulting the family. That money should have gone to Derek's business expansion. Call me immediately. Should have gone to Derek's business expansion. I sat there, phone in hand, letting that sink in. My money, my bonus, my savings, should have gone to Derek. My father's messages were colder, more controlled. Son, we need to discuss your poor decision-making. This is unacceptable. Family comes first. The extended family messages all followed the same pattern. Nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody wished me happy birthday. Even belatedly. They were all angry, demanding explanations, calling me selfish, greedy, irresponsible. I put the phone down and made coffee. As it brewed, I thought about all the times I'd lent Derek money. $5,000 for his first restaurant attempt that failed within 6 months. $8,000 for the art gallery phase that lasted 3 months. $12,000 for his food truck venture that he abandoned when it required actual work. $7,000 for his craft brewery dream that never got past the planning stage. Another $6,000 for various emergencies over the years. Car repairs that never got fixed. Rent he couldn't make. Credit card debt from buying equipment he never used. $41,000 total, not 1 penny repaid. And now they were furious that I'd spent my own money on myself. I picked up the phone and opened the family group chat. The messages were flying fast. My mother, father, Derek, his wife Amber, all coordinating their outrage in real time. I typed one message. It's my money. I earned it. I spent it. End of discussion. Then I left the group chat. Within minutes, my phone rang. My mother. I answered. Ryder James. You get back in that chat right now. No. Don't you dare use that tone with me. We are your family. We have a right to know what you're doing with money that affects all of us. It doesn't affect you. It's mine. Derek was counting on that bonus. He told you about the restaurant equipment he needs. You know he's trying to get his business off the ground. How could you be so cruel? I laughed. Actually laughed. Derek told me about equipment? When? I haven't spoken to Derek in 3 months. Silence on the other end. Mom, when's my birthday? More silence. It was yesterday. You didn't call. You didn't text. You forgot. Like you forget every year. But Derek's 28th birthday last month? 400 people. A band. You spent thousands. That's different. Derek needs support. He's struggling right now. I'm struggling too. I've been struggling my whole life. You just never noticed. Don't be dramatic. You have a good job. You're fine. I am fine. Now. Because I finally did something for myself. You're being selfish, Ryder. Families help each other. I've been helping Derek for 10 years. He's never paid back a single loan. I'm done. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. I managed to avoid them for 2 days. Turned off my phone during work hours. Kept it on silent at home. Responded to nobody. I needed space to process everything. To understand what had just happened. But on Thursday evening, I learned that space was a luxury they wouldn't grant me. I came home from work around 6:30, tired from back-to-back meetings. As I walked into my apartment building lobby, I froze. They were all there. Waiting. My mother Patricia sat in one of the lobby chairs, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. My father Howard stood beside her. Arms crossed. Face set in that disappointed expression. I knew so well. Derek leaned against the wall, jaw clenched. His wife Amber stood next to him, hand on his arm like she was restraining him. And in the corner, looking frail and sad, was my grandmother, Nana Ruth. They'd brought Nana Ruth. Ryder, my mother said, standing. We need to talk. How did you get in here? The building required a key fob for entry. We waited for someone to let us in, my father said. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. I don't want to talk. Too bad. Derek snapped. We're talking. They followed me to the elevator. All 5 of them crowded in with me. The ride to the 4th floor was silent, except for my mother's occasional sniffles. I unlocked my apartment door, knowing I had no choice. If I didn't let them in, they'd cause a scene in the hallway. Inside, they spread out through my living room like an occupying force. My mother took the armchair. My father stood behind her. Derek and Amber sat on the couch. Nana Ruth settled into the other chair with a heavy sigh. "This is an intervention," my mother announced. I almost laughed again. "An intervention. You're making destructive choices," my father said. "Choices that hurt the entire family. Choices with my own money. Money that was supposed to help your brother." Amber spoke up. Her voice was sharp, entitled. "Derek's been planning this equipment purchase for months. He was counting on you. Nobody asked me." "We shouldn't have to ask," Derek said. "You're my brother. You're supposed to support me. Like you supported me? When was the last time you called to ask how I was doing? When was the last time you remembered my birthday?" "Here we go with the birthday thing again." Derek rolled his eyes. "You're 32 years old. Grow up. You're 28, and still living off loans from family." Derek shot to his feet. "You think you're better than me? I think I'm tired of funding your failures." "Ryder," my mother's voice cracked. "How can you be so cruel? Your brother is trying to build something. He has dreams. He needs support. I had dreams too. Nobody supported those." "You went to college," my father interjected. "We paid for that. You paid half of 1 semester before deciding Derek needed the money more for his baseball equipment. I worked 3 jobs to finish school. But thanks for the half semester. We did what we could," my father said coldly. Resources were limited, yet somehow there were always resources for Derek. Nana Ruth cleared her throat. Everyone turned to her. She looked at me with watery eyes. "Ryder, sweetheart, you're breaking my heart. All I want is for this family to be together. Can't you see what you're doing to your mother? To all of us? The guilt card. Of course. Nana, I love you. But this isn't about you. It's about all of us," my mother insisted. "Family means sacrifice. It means putting each other first. It means some of us sacrificing for Derek," I corrected. "That's all it's ever meant." "Oh, here we go. Poor Ryder, the victim." Derek sneered. "Nobody forced you to help me. You offered, because you begged, because you said you'd pay me back, because I believed family helped family. And now you're abandoning us over a stupid house." "I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm finally choosing myself." "Same thing," Amber muttered. My father stepped forward. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell that property, or take out a home equity loan against it. You're going to give Derek the $70,000 he needs for his equipment. This restaurant is his last chance, Ryder. Don't sabotage your brother's future out of spite." I stared at him. His last chance? How many last chances does he get? This is his 3rd restaurant attempt. The first 2 failed because he didn't want to work. He wanted to be the creative genius, while other people did the actual labor. Why will this time be different? Because he's learned, my mother said. He's grown. He's ready. Then he can get a business loan. Or investors. Or save his own money. He has investors, Amber said quickly. Us. The family. We've all contributed. Then why does he need my money? Silence. Derek's jaw worked. Then he said, because we're short. The contracts are already signed. The equipment deposits are due in 2 weeks. If we don't pay, we lose everything we've already put in. You signed contracts without having the full amount secured? We thought you'd help, Derek shouted. We thought we could count on you. You thought wrong. Derek moved fast. 1 second he was across the room. The next his hands were on my chest, shoving me hard against the wall. My head cracked against the drywall. Pain exploded through my skull. You're going to regret this, Derek hissed in my face. That money was supposed to be mine. You owe me. Derek. Stop, Amber said, but her tone was mild. Not actually trying to stop him. My father didn't move. My mother just watched. Only Nana Ruth looked distressed. Get out, I said quietly. Not until you agree. Derek pushed harder. Get out. He shoved me again, then stepped back. Fine. Keep your stupid house. But don't come crying to us when you're alone and miserable. I won't. My mother stood, gathering her purse. You're making a terrible mistake, Ryder. Family is all we have in this world. When you realize that, it might be too late. They filed out. Derek knocked over my side table on his way, sending a lamp crashing to the floor. Nobody apologized. Nobody helped pick it up. They just left. The door closed. I slid down the wall and sat among the broken pieces of lamp, touching the back of my head. No blood, but a good-sized bump forming. I looked around my apartment. Furniture knocked askew, the side table on its side. Broken ceramic scattered across the hardwood. But I felt something unexpected. Relief. Because for the first time in my life, I saw them clearly. Not as flawed people who loved me imperfectly, as people who didn't love me at all. Who saw me as a resource. An ATM. A supporting character in Derek's story. And I was done. Completely done. I picked up my phone and called a locksmith. Changed my apartment locks that night. Then I sat down and made a list of every family member's number, and I blocked them. All of them. If they wanted a war, they'd get one. But on my terms now. The weekend passed. Quietly. Too quietly. I half expected Derek to show up banging on my door. But nothing happened. By Monday morning, I'd almost convinced myself they'd given up. I should have known better. At 10:30, my boss Frank called me into his office. Frank was a good guy. Mid-50s, fair but direct. He looked uncomfortable as I sat down. Ryder, we need to talk about something that came up with HR. My stomach dropped. Okay. Someone filed an anonymous complaint about you. What kind of complaint? Frank pulled out a folder. They're claiming you've been misusing company resources for personal business, that you took unauthorized time off, that your performance has been declining, and you've been distracted. I felt my face flush. That's all false. I know that. I've reviewed your timesheets, your project records, everything. You took one personal day last month, properly requested and approved. Your performance has been excellent, but HR has to investigate any formal complaint. Who filed it? Anonymous. Through the online portal. But Ryder, between you and me? This feels personal. Is there something going on in your life that might explain why someone would target you like this? I thought about lying, keeping it professional. But Frank had always been straight with me. Family issues, I said finally. I made a big purchase recently. A property. My family expected me to give them the money instead. They're not happy. Frank nodded slowly. Would they sabotage your career over it? Apparently. He closed the folder. All right, here's what's going to happen. You're going to provide HR with documentation of everything. Timesheets. Project completion records. Performance reviews. I'll submit my own statement, vouching for your work. This will get resolved, but it's going to be a pain in the rear for a few weeks. The investigation is formal once it's filed. I understand. Thank you for believing me. I've worked with you for 4 years. I know who you are. Just get me that documentation by end of day tomorrow. I spent my lunch hour gathering everything Frank needed. Every project I'd completed on time. Every positive client email. Every performance review showing I exceeded expectations. By the time I finished, I had a file 3 inches thick. But the damage was done. Now I was under scrutiny. Every move watched. Every email read. It created a cloud of suspicion that would take months to fully clear. When I got home that evening, I checked social media. A mistake. My mother had posted, "Sometimes the people you sacrifice everything for turn out to be strangers." Heartbroken doesn't begin to describe it. Derek's post was more direct. Some people forget where they came from. Money changes people. Sad to lose a brother to greed. The comments were brutal. People I'd known for years, friends of the family, all rallying around Derek, calling me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Then, I saw posts on my own photos of the lake house. Comments I'd missed before. Must be nice to waste money while family struggles. Selfish rich boy playing with a toy while his brother needs help. This is what narcissism looks like. I recognized some of the commenters. Family friends, extended relatives, people who'd been at Derek's elaborate birthday party, eating expensive food and drinking top-shelf liquor that my parents somehow afforded. My mentions were flooded with hate. Dozens of messages from people who didn't know me, didn't know the situation, but had strong opinions based on Derek's carefully crafted narrative. A few friends reached out privately. "Hey man, is everything okay?" Derek's posts are pretty intense. I tried to explain. Sent long messages detailing the history. Some people got it. Most said something like, "Yeah, but he's still your brother. Maybe you should try to work it out?" By Wednesday, I noticed some friends had stopped responding to my messages entirely. Carlos, my best friend since college, came over that night with beer and pizza. "People are talking," he said carefully. "Derek's version is getting around. Some mutual friends are taking sides." "What's his version?" "That you've always been jealous of him. That he's struggled while you've had it easy. That the family tried to do an intervention because they're worried about you, and you kicked them out. That you're having some kind of breakdown." "And people believe that?" Carlos shrugged. "They believe what makes sense to them. Most people don't want to think someone's entire family could be wrong. It's easier to believe you're the problem." "Are you taking sides?" "I'm on your side. Always. But Ryder, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Derek's not going to let this go." He was right. Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Is this Ryder?" A man's voice. Older. Concerned. "Yes? This is Thomas, Margaret's son. The woman who sold you the lake house." My blood went cold. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. But someone called her yesterday. Claimed to be from code enforcement. Told her the sale might be fraudulent. That there were issues with the property that weren't disclosed. My mother has early-stage dementia, and this call really scared her. She was crying when she called me. "Thomas, I swear, the sale was completely legitimate. I can send you all the documentation. I believe you. The story didn't make sense, but my mother is vulnerable. Whoever called her knew exactly how to frighten her. They knew about her condition. They mentioned specific details about the sale that only someone with inside information would know. I'm so sorry she was scared. I'll talk to my real estate attorney, make sure everything is documented properly. Please do. And Ryder? Whoever is doing this, they're not going to stop. Be careful." I called my attorney immediately. Jennifer was a sharp woman in her early 40s who'd handled my closing. "The sale is ironclad," she assured me. "Fully legal, properly documented, clean title. Nobody can undo it. But harassing the seller? That could be criminal. Can we do anything? File a police report. Start documenting everything. If they keep escalating, we'll need a paper trail." I drove to the police station that evening. Filed a report about the harassment. The officer who took my statement was polite but not optimistic. Without proof of who made the call, there's not much we can do. It's a civil matter, unless the threats become explicit. But keep documenting. If it escalates, come back. I left the station feeling helpless. They were attacking from every angle. Work, social circles, the property itself, and I couldn't prove any of it was them. That night, I drove to the lake house. I needed to see it, to remind myself why I'd done this. The cabin looked peaceful in the moonlight. I walked down to the dock and sat at the edge, feet dangling over the water. The surface was smooth as glass, reflecting stars. I took a photo, posted it. Caption: "This is what peace looks like." Within minutes, the comments started. More hate, more accusations, but also something new. A few people defending me, strangers who said things like, "Good for you for choosing yourself and family. Doesn't mean accepting abuse. Small victories." I stayed at the cabin that night, sleeping in the upstairs bedroom. Woke to birdsong and sunlight through pine trees. Spent Saturday cleaning, making repairs, slowly turning the house into a home. Sunday afternoon, I drove back to the city, back to reality, and that's when I found my apartment door slightly open. I stood in the hallway, staring at my door. It wasn't broken. The lock wasn't damaged. But it was open maybe 2 inches, swaying slightly in the breeze from the window inside. I pulled out my phone, finger hovering over 911. Then I pushed the door open slowly. "Hello?" No answer. I stepped inside. The apartment had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out and dumped. Couch cushions thrown across the floor. Kitchen cabinets hanging open. Contents scattered. Papers everywhere. But it wasn't random destruction. This was a search. Someone had been looking for something. My laptop was gone from the desk. The good one I used for personal finances and tax documents. In the bedroom, my dresser drawers were emptied, clothes strewn across the floor. The closet had been torn apart, and on my nightstand, in the spot where I'd kept it since my grandfather died 12 years ago, there was an empty space. His watch. A vintage 1967 Omega Seamaster. The only thing of real value he'd left me. The only inheritance I'd ever received. Gone. I called the police. They arrived 20 minutes later. 2 officers, a man and a woman, both looking tired and overworked. They took photos, dusted for prints, asked questions. Any idea who might have done this? My brother, probably. Or someone he hired. Why would you think that? I explained the situation. The family conflict. The escalating harassment. Derek's threat that I'd regret my decision. "We'll need to check the building's security footage," the male officer said. "But without clear identification, it's hard to prove." The building manager brought up the footage. There, at 11:23 that morning, was a figure in a dark hoodie entering through the main door behind a resident. Face turned away from the camera, but the height, the build, the way he moved. "That's my brother," I said. "Are you certain?" "We can't see his face. I've known him my whole life. That's how he walks. That's his build. It's not enough for charges." The female officer said gently, "I'm sorry. We'll file a report. But unless we have definitive proof or the stolen items turn up," they left. I spent 2 hours cleaning up the mess. Then I sat on my couch, surrounded by the chaos of my violated home, and felt rage building in my chest. The laptop had financial records, bank statements, property documents. They'd have access to everything now if they could crack the password. But the watch, that was personal. That was deliberate. Derek knew what that watch meant to me. Grandfather had given it to me on his deathbed. Bypassing Derek entirely, he'd said, "This goes to someone who'll value it. Someone steady." Derek had never forgiven that. I grabbed my car keys. Derek lived in a rental house across town. A nice place. Nicer than he could afford. Probably subsidized by my parents. I drove there in a fury, barely remembering the route, parked in front, and hammered on the door. Derek answered with a smirk. Actually smirked. What do you want, Ryder? Give me my things back. I don't know what you're talking about. My laptop. Grandfather's watch. Give them back now. You're crazy. I haven't been to your apartment. Amber appeared behind him, arms crossed. She looked pleased with herself. Maybe you should be more careful with your belongings, she said. It's dangerous to leave your door unlocked. I didn't leave it unlocked. Sure you didn't, Derek said. Look, I'm sorry someone broke into your place. That's scary. But don't come here accusing me without proof. I saw it then. On his wrist, the Omega Seamaster. Grandfather's watch. He was wearing it. That's my watch. Derek glanced at his wrist, then back at me with mock surprise. This? Found it at an estate sale last week. Nice, right? 67 Seamaster. Hard to find. That's my grandfather's watch. Give it back. Prove it. You have papers? Receipt? Proof of ownership? I didn't. Grandfather had just given it to me. No paperwork, no receipt. Just a dying man's gift to his grandson. Derek, I'm asking you, brother to brother, please give it back. Get off my property before I call the cops for harassment. I stood there, fists clenched, knowing if I hit him I'd be the one arrested. Knowing I had no proof. Knowing he'd won this round. You're going to regret this, I said. No, little brother. You're going to regret choosing a house over family. I walked back to my car. Sat there for 5 minutes, trying to calm down. Then drove home. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. I'd changed the locks after the family intervention. But somehow they'd gotten in anyway. They'd violated my space, stolen my things, and I couldn't prove it. Monday morning, working from home because I couldn't focus at the office, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Ryder? This is Jennifer, your attorney. Hi. What's up? I just received something concerning. Your parents have retained counsel. They're suing you. The world tilted. Suing me for what? According to the complaint, they're claiming you verbally agreed to invest in your brother's business. That the bonus money was essentially promised to him. They're seeking $75,000 in damages plus legal fees. That's insane. I never agreed to anything. I know. The claim is clearly frivolous, but frivolous lawsuits still cost money to defend. We'll need to respond, file a motion to dismiss, possibly go to court. Even if we win, which we will, you're looking at thousands in legal fees. How much? At least 10,000. Possibly 15. I closed my eyes. This was the strategy. Bury me in legal fees. Force me to spend everything defending myself. Make the lake house so expensive that I'd have to sell it just to pay the lawyers. They hired expensive counsel, Jennifer continued. Top firm in the city. I don't know how they're affording it, but someone's bankrolling this. They're probably in debt up to their eyeballs betting I'll cave. Will you? No. Good. Then let's fight this. I'll file our response this week. Discovery will be interesting. We'll subpoena bank records showing all the money you lent Derek over the years. Text messages, emails, everything. If they want to make this public, we'll make it very public. After we hung up, I sat staring at the wall. They were escalating beyond anything I'd imagined. A lawsuit. Actual legal action. Based on complete lies. My phone buzzed. Email from building management. Due to the break-in, they were reviewing security. They'd found that someone had made an unauthorized copy of a master key 3 months ago. The key had been deactivated. All locks were being changed building-wide 3 months ago. Right around when I'd mentioned to my mother that I might buy property someday. They'd been planning this. Preparing. Waiting for the right moment to strike. I called Carlos. I need help, I said when he answered. What happened? I told him everything. The break-in, the lawsuit, the stolen watch, the escalating attacks. This is insane, Carlos said. They've completely lost it. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm under siege. You need to document everything. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. Record every interaction, if it's legal in your state. Build a case. And Ryder, you need to tell people what's really happening. Derek's controlling the narrative. Time to set the record straight. He was right. But going public felt like nuclear option. Once I did that, there was no going back. Think about it, Carlos said. But don't wait too long. Every day you're silent is another day they get to lie about you. That night, I created a folder on my computer. Started organizing everything. Bank records, showing money lent to Derek. Screenshots of social media posts. Police reports. The lawsuit documents. Text messages spanning years. The evidence of my family's dysfunction, laid out in black and white. And I realized something. This wasn't just about the lake house anymore. This was about my entire life. About being seen. About refusing to be erased. They wanted me to disappear back into the shadows. To be the quiet, supportive brother who existed only to fund Derek's dreams. I was done disappearing. Tuesday morning, I met with Jennifer at her office. She'd brought in an associate, a sharp young lawyer named David, who specialized in family law litigation. The good news, Jennifer said, spreading documents across the conference table, is that their case is baseless. The bad news is baseless cases can still be expensive and time-consuming. How do we fight it? We need to prove a pattern. Show that this isn't about one promised investment. It's about decades of financial exploitation. Can you document the money you've lent Derek? I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder I'd been building. Bank statements going back 10 years. Venmo transactions. Checks that were never repaid. A spreadsheet I'd started keeping 5 years ago when I realized the money was never coming back. $41,000, I said. That's what I've loaned him over the years. Not one payment returned. David whistled low. That's substantial. And you have documentation? Every penny. What about communication? Did he ever acknowledge these were loans? I pulled up text messages. Here, 3 years ago. Hey bro, can you spot me $5,000 for the food truck deposit? I'll pay you back when we start turning profit. The food truck lasted 2 months. Perfect. What else? We spent 2 hours going through everything. The forgotten birthdays documented in old social media posts. Photos of Derek's elaborate parties next to photos of my ignored milestones. Emails from years ago where I'd tried to talk to my parents about the imbalance and been dismissed. This is good, Jennifer said finally. Really good. We can file a countersuit. Harassment, defamation, based on the social media posts, maybe even theft. If we can prove the watch situation. Will that make things worse? Probably. But right now they think you'll roll over. Time to show them. You won't. I was about to respond when my phone rang. Unknown number. Again. Hello? Ryder? This is Linda, your aunt, Patricia's sister. I'd barely spoken to Aunt Linda in years. She lived in Colorado, kept her distance from the family. Aunt Linda. Hi. I saw what's happening on social media. The posts, the comments. I need to talk to you. Can we meet? You're in Colorado. I flew in this morning. I'm at a coffee shop downtown. Can you come? Something in her voice made me agree. I told Jennifer I'd call her later, and drove to the address Linda texted me. She was waiting at a corner table, nursing a coffee. Linda was older than my mother by 6 years. With gray hair she didn't bother dyeing, and a weathered face that suggested she spent time outdoors. She looked tired. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat down. What's this about? I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. She pulled out a folder. Patricia has always been obsessed with Derek, since he was born. I know. I lived it. You don't know why. Derek was born premature, 6 weeks early. He had health problems as an infant, breathing issues, developmental delays. The doctors said he might not make it through the first year. I hadn't known that. Patricia became consumed with keeping him alive, obsessed. And when he survived, when he thrived, she decided he was special, destined for greatness. She convinced herself that he needed to be protected and elevated above everything else, including you. That doesn't excuse 32 years of neglect. No, it doesn't. I tried to intervene. 20 years ago, when you were 12, I saw what was happening. Wrote letters to Patricia and Howard. Begged them to get family counseling. They cut me off. Said I was jealous, that I was trying to hurt Derek. She opened the folder. Inside were printouts of emails, letters, all dated 15 to 20 years ago, all expressing concern about the favoritism, the neglect of me, the damage being done. I kept everything, Linda said, because I knew someday you'd need proof that someone saw it. Someone tried to stop it. I read through the documents. Email after email where Linda begged my parents to treat us equally, warned them they were creating dysfunction, predicted exactly what would happen if they didn't change. Why are you showing me this now? Because you finally stood up for yourself, and they're trying to destroy you for it. I've watched from a distance for years, feeling guilty that I didn't do more. This is me doing more. If you need a witness, if you need someone to testify that this pattern of abuse goes back decades, I will. This could blow up your relationship with Mom. That relationship ended 20 years ago when she chose Derek over basic decency. I've made peace with it. Have you? I looked at this woman I barely knew, my mother's sister, someone who'd tried to save me when I was too young to save myself. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me. Use this. Fight back. Win. When I got back to my apartment, Carlos was waiting in the lobby. With him were 2 other people. Maya, his girlfriend, and Jake. A mutual friend from college. We need to talk, Carlos said. Upstairs, they spread out in my living room. Carlos looked serious. I've been doing some digging. Talking to people who know Derek. Asking questions. And Derek owes money to a lot of people. Not just you. He took investments for his last restaurant attempt from at least 6 people I know about. Promised returns that never materialized. Some are talking about suing him. Jake spoke up. I know someone who worked at the craft brewery he tried to start. Derek took $20,000 from 3 investors, supposedly for equipment. Never bought the equipment. When they asked where the money went, he claimed expenses, but couldn't provide receipts. So he's done this before. Multiple times, Maya added. I talked to some women I know who follow his wife on social media. Amber's always posting about expensive things. Designer bags, fancy dinners, trips. But Derek hasn't had a real job in 3 years. Where's the money coming from? We looked at each other. He's been living off the family, I said slowly. Off my parents. Off me. Probably off investors he has no intention of paying back. There's more, Carlos said. I found out Derek has a business partner for this new restaurant. Guy named Marcus. I reached out to him. You what? I messaged him on social media, said I was considering investing, asked some questions. He agreed to meet me tomorrow. Want to come? Why would he talk to us? Because I think he's starting to have doubts. Some of his responses were weird, evasive. I think something's not right with the business plan. The next morning, Carlos and I met Marcus at a diner. He was in his early 40s, looked stressed and sleep-deprived. Thanks for meeting us, Carlos said. This is Ryder. Marcus's eyes widened. Derek's brother? Yeah. He said you were unstable, going through some kind of crisis. I'm the most stable I've been in years. What's really going on with the restaurant? Marcus glanced around, then leaned in close. I think Derek's running a scam. My stomach dropped. What kind of scam? We're supposed to be buying restaurant equipment. High-end commercial stuff. I've seen the contracts, the deposit agreements. But last week I got suspicious and called one of the suppliers directly. They'd never heard of our order. The contracts are fake. Fake? Forgeries. Derek's been collecting money from investors, showing them these professional-looking documents, but there's no actual equipment order. The money's going somewhere else. Where? I don't know. But I've been going through our business account. Money comes in from investors, then gets transferred out within days. To personal accounts, to cash withdrawals. Derek's burning through capital with nothing to show for it. Why haven't you reported this? I was about to. But then Derek mentioned you. Said his family was going to invest $75,000. I realized, if that money came in, he'd disappear with it. So I've been stalling, trying to figure out the full scope before I go to the police. How much has he taken? From what I can document? About $60,000 so far. But there might be more I don't know about. Carlos and I exchanged looks. You need to report this, I said. Now. Before he gets more money from anyone else. Will you back me up? If Derek finds out I reported him, he'll come after me. I'll do better than that. I'll connect you with my attorney. We'll document everything together. Marcus nodded slowly. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. That afternoon, I connected Marcus with Jennifer. He brought his documentation. Bank statements, fake contracts, investor agreements. Jennifer and David took notes, asked questions. This is criminal fraud, David said finally. Securities fraud, theft by deception, possibly wire fraud if any money moved electronically across state lines. What happens now? Marcus asked. We report it to the police. The district attorney's office will likely get involved. With this level of documentation, they'll open an investigation. And Derek, if the evidence holds up, he's looking at felony charges. Possibly 5 to 10 years. I sat back, processing. My brother. Actually facing prison time. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sick. Ryder, Jennifer said gently. This isn't your fault. You refusing to give him money didn't cause this. It exposed it. If you'd given him that $75,000, you'd be another victim, maybe even an accomplice. She was right. By standing my ground, by choosing myself, I'd accidentally prevented myself from being caught up in fraud. Let's file the report, I said. Marcus went to the police station with David that afternoon. Filed a formal complaint with full documentation. The police took it seriously. Fraud investigation unit got involved. Within 24 hours, they'd opened a case. And Derek had no idea it was coming. Jennifer called me Friday morning. The judge dismissed your parents' lawsuit. With prejudice. What does that mean? It means it's thrown out permanently. They can't refile. The judge reviewed our response, saw the documentation of Derek's unpaid loans, and called their claim baseless and potentially malicious. He warned their attorney about filing frivolous suits. I felt my shoulders drop. Tension I didn't know I was carrying releasing. That's not all, Jennifer continued. We're filing our countersuit today. Harassment, defamation, filing false reports. We're seeking damages for your legal fees, plus pain and suffering. And Ryder? Given what Marcus reported to police, the timing is perfect. What do you mean? Your family is about to have much bigger problems than a countersuit. But this establishes a paper trail, shows their pattern of behavior. When Derek's fraud case goes public, this will all make sense. That afternoon, a local news reporter called my cell. Somehow she'd gotten wind of the dueling lawsuits. Mr. Ryder, I'm calling about the legal dispute between you and your family. Would you be willing to comment? I almost said no. Hung up. Kept my head down like I'd always done. Then I thought about Derek wearing grandfather's watch. About my mother's voicemail screaming that my money should have gone to him. About 32 years of being invisible. Yes, I said. I'll talk to you. We met that evening at a coffee shop. The reporter, Amanda, was in her 30s. Sharp-eyed and professional. She asked good questions. Walk me through what happened. I told her everything. The forgotten birthdays, documented in old social media posts. The lavish parties for Derek. The years of unpaid loans. The lake house purchase. The family's reaction. The break-in. The lawsuit. The escalating harassment. I showed her documentation. Bank records. Text messages. The police report from the break-in. Court documents from the dismissed lawsuit. Aunt Linda's emails from 20 years ago. Amanda took notes, asked follow-up questions. This is quite a story. Are you sure you want this public? There could be backlash. There's already backlash. At least this way people will know the truth. When can we run it? Whenever you want. The piece ran Saturday evening on the local news. 6 minutes of airtime. They showed Derek's social media posts, calling me selfish next to evidence of the money I'd loaned him. Interviewed Aunt Linda, who confirmed the pattern of favoritism spanning decades. Showed my lake house and explained how I'd earned every penny. The segment ended with Amanda saying, "This family dispute raises questions about boundaries, financial abuse, and the cost of standing up for yourself. Ryder says he just wants to be left alone, to live his life." His family has not responded to requests for comment. By Sunday morning, the segment had been clipped and posted to social media. It went viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Most supportive. Good for him, for finally choosing himself. This is textbook scapegoat versus golden child dynamic. The family's reaction tells you everything you need to know. But also people digging deeper, finding Derek's social media history, his failed businesses, his pattern of asking for money. Someone found old posts from investors complaining about unpaid returns. By Sunday afternoon, the narrative had completely flipped. Derek's post calling me selfish had been shared 10,000 times, now with comments mocking him. My mother's vague posts about ungrateful children were getting torn apart. Then people found Derek's wife's social media. The designer bags, the expensive restaurants, the luxury trips, all posted while Derek supposedly had no money for his business. The internet did what the internet does. Investigated, exposed, destroyed. By Monday morning, Derek had deleted all his social media accounts. So had Amber. So had my mother. But the damage was done. Tuesday morning, I got a call from my mother. First time we'd spoken since the intervention. "How could you?" She was crying. "How could you humiliate us like this? Do you know what people are saying? We can't show our faces anywhere. You humiliated yourselves, Mom." I just told the truth. That reporter made us look like monsters. Did she lie about anything? Did she misrepresent any facts? Silence. Mom, you had a choice. You could have treated us equally. You could have acknowledged my birthdays. You could have said no when Derek asked for another loan he'd never repay. You made your choices. These are the consequences. You've destroyed this family. No, I survived it. There's a difference. She hung up. My father called an hour later. His approach was different, colder. You're out of the will. Completely. Everything goes to Derek now. Okay. He seemed surprised by my calm response. That's it? Okay, Dad. I never expected anything from you. This changes nothing. You're not welcome at family events, holidays, gatherings, anything. You're done. I was never welcome. You just didn't make it official before. Don't come to our funerals. That one hit harder than I expected, but I kept my voice steady. If that's what you want, it's what we all want. You chose a house over your family. No, Dad. I chose myself over people who treated me like I didn't exist. Huge difference. He hung up too. Carlos came over that night with beer and takeout. We sat on my couch watching mindless TV. not really talking about the elephant in the room. Finally, he said, "You did the right thing." Did I? I just blew up my entire family on the news. They blew themselves up. You just stopped covering for them. There's a difference. My father said I'm out of the will. Were you ever really in it? Fair point. What happens now? I asked. Now, you live your life, the life you earned. You go to your lake house whenever you want. You stop funding other people's failures. You find out who you are when you're not trying to make them love you. What if I don't know who that is? Then you figure it out. That's the whole point. Wednesday morning, I got a call from Detective Morrison, the investigator handling Derek's fraud case. "Mr. Ryder, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're arresting your brother this afternoon. Multiple counts of fraud, theft by deception. The evidence Marcus provided was substantial. How long will he be in custody? Depends on bail. But we're recommending against release, given the flight risk and ongoing investigation. We're still finding more victims." More? We've identified at least 12 people he took money from over the past 5 years. Total looks to be around $200,000. This is bigger than we initially thought. 200,000. Derek had run a multi-year scam, and nobody had reported it because they were embarrassed or hoped to get their money back. What about my parents? Did they know? We're looking into that. If they were aware and helped hide it, they could face charges too. But right now, we're focused on your brother. That evening, Derek was arrested at his home. Someone filmed it, posted it to social media. Within hours, it was everywhere. The same people who'd believed Derek's story about his selfish brother now saw him led away in handcuffs. The comments were brutal, but satisfying. Guess Ryder was right all along. Imagine calling someone selfish when you're literally stealing from people. The family probably knew. That's why they wanted his money so badly. To cover up the fraud. That last comment made me think. Had my parents known? Is that why they were so desperate for my $75,000? To help Derek cover his tracks, I called Jennifer. "Can you find out if my parents knew about Derek's fraud? The police will investigate that. If they knew and didn't report it, or helped hide it, that's accessory after the fact." But Ryder, is that what you want? Your brother is already facing prison. Do you want your parents charged too? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I want the truth, I said finally. Whatever it is. The truth came out over the next week. Bank records showed my parents had given Derek $60,000 over the past 2 years. Money they didn't have. They'd taken out a second mortgage on their house, maxed out credit cards, all to fund what they thought was Derek's restaurant dream. They hadn't known about the fraud. They were victims too. Stupid, enabling victims who'd bankrupted themselves for their golden child. But victims nonetheless. The DA decided not to charge them. They hadn't knowingly participated in the fraud. They'd just been marks like everyone else. But the financial damage was real. They were drowning in debt, facing foreclosure. And Derek, the son they'd sacrificed everything for, had stolen from them too. Derek's trial happened quickly. With the mountain of evidence and multiple victim testimonies, his attorney recommended a plea deal. Derek pleaded guilty to 8 counts of fraud. The judge sentenced him to 6 years in prison with possibility of parole after 4. My parents sat in the courtroom throughout, watching their golden child led away in shackles. I didn't attend. Didn't need to see that. The civil lawsuits resolved next. My countersuit against my parents and Derek settled out of court. They agreed to a permanent no-contact order, a formal written apology posted on social media, return of grandfather's watch, recovered from Derek's belongings, and payment of my legal fees. $12,000. They'd never have that money. They were bankrupt. But the judgment stood, a permanent record of what they'd done. Jennifer also helped me file for a restraining order. 3 years, renewable. They couldn't contact me, come near my home or workplace. or post about me on social media. For the first time in my life, I had legal protection from my own family. 2 months after Derek's sentencing, I spent a long weekend at the lake house with Carlos, Maya, and a woman I'd been seeing, Emma. I'd met her at the farmer's market near the lake, where she sold homemade pottery. We'd been on half a dozen dates, careful and slow, both of us carrying baggage. She knew my story. The whole thing. She'd seen the news coverage, read the articles, and still wanted to know me. That weekend, we all worked on the house together. Carlos and I built a new section of deck. Maya helped Emma plant a garden. We cooked meals together, sat around a fire pit at night, told stories, and laughed. On Sunday afternoon, Emma and I walked down to the dock alone. Sat at the edge, with our feet dangling over the water. "This place suits you," she said. "Yeah? It's peaceful. Honest. No pretense. Just what it is. That's what I needed." I read some of the comments on those old news articles. People were pretty harsh. Some were. Some weren't. Does it still hurt? What your family did. I thought about that. Really examined it. Sometimes, I admitted. Not as much as it used to. Mostly I feel relieved. Like I spent 32 years carrying this weight, and I finally put it down. Do you ever regret it? Going public? No. It was the only way to stop them. They wouldn't have quit otherwise. Do you think they understand now? What they did wrong? I don't know. I don't think so. People who are that deep in their own narrative rarely see it. They probably still think they're the victims. That's sad. Yeah. But it's not my problem anymore. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Emma said, "My family's not great either. Different issues, but still messy. I think that's why your story resonated with me. Most people have some family stuff, but yours was extreme, and you actually did something about it instead of just accepting it. I didn't have a choice. They forced me to choose between them and myself, and you chose yourself. That takes courage." Inside the house, I heard Carlos and Maya laughing about something. The sound drifted across the water. This is what family should sound like, I thought. Easy. Light. Genuine. A week later, Aunt Linda came to visit. She drove up from where she was staying with a friend, brought homemade cookies and a photo album. "I thought you might want these," she said, opening the album. Photos of my grandfather. Young, middle-aged, old. In many of them, I saw myself. The same eyes. The same slight smile. He knew, Linda said. About Patricia's favoritism. He tried to talk to her about it. She wouldn't listen. That's why he gave you the watch. It was his way of saying he saw you. I wish he'd said something to me. He did, in his way. The watch was the message. You matter. You have value. Don't let them convince you otherwise. I traced my finger over a photo of grandfather standing by a lake. Different lake, but similar scene. He would have loved this place, Linda said. Yeah, he would have. She stayed for dinner. We cooked together, talked about neutral topics at first, then deeper things. She told me about her own struggles with Patricia growing up. The competitiveness, the need to be right, the inability to see other perspectives. Some people are just broken in ways they can't fix, Linda said. Patricia is one of them. It doesn't excuse anything. But understanding, it helps. Does it get easier? Not having them in my life? Yes and no. You'll miss having a family sometimes. The idea of it, if not the reality. Holidays will be weird. You'll see other families and feel a pang. But mostly, you'll feel lighter, freer, like you can finally breathe. She was right. 3 months after everything exploded, my boss Frank called me into his office. I'd been waiting for bad news. The HR investigation had technically cleared me, but I figured the drama had tainted my reputation. Instead, Frank said, we're creating a new senior project manager position. More responsibility, Bigger clients, more autonomy, 15% raise. And here's the interesting part. You can work remotely 3 days a week, from wherever you want. Seriously? You're good at what you do, Ryder. The clients love you. Your team respects you. And frankly, the way you handled your personal situation showed character. A lot of people would have crumbled. You didn't. So, you interested? Yes. Absolutely. Good. You can start next month. And Ryder? I'm sorry for how the company handled the anonymous complaint. We should have trusted you from the start. Water under the bridge. The new position changed everything. I could work from the lake house most of the week. Only come into the city for important meetings. Live the life I'd bought that house for. I moved most of my belongings to the cabin over the next month. Kept the city apartment, but made the lake house my primary residence. Set up a proper office. Got good internet. Made it work. Emma started spending weekends there. Then weeknights. By month 3, she'd moved in half her pottery equipment and was talking about converting the shed into a studio. Is this too fast? She asked one morning over coffee on the deck. Probably. But it feels right. Yeah, it does. Carlos and Maya visited often. Brought their kids when they had them. The cabin became a gathering place. Not for blood family, but for chosen family. The people who showed up, who celebrated successes and supported through struggles, who didn't keep score or demand payment for love. 6 months after Derek's sentencing, I got a letter from my mother, forwarded through my attorney. As per the restraining order, I almost didn't open it. Almost threw it away. But curiosity won. The letter was 5 pages long, handwritten. It started with justifications. Explanations of why they'd done what they did. How Derek's early health problems had made them protective. How they'd thought they were helping. But by page 3, something shifted. The excuses stopped. And my mother wrote, "I see now that we failed you. Not just recently, but your entire life. We made Derek the center of everything and left you in the shadows. You deserved better. You deserved parents who celebrated your achievements, remembered your birthday, and treated you with the same love and attention we gave your brother. I can't undo 32 years of neglect. I can't give you back your childhood or the family you should have had. I can only say I'm sorry, and I understand if that's not enough." The letter ended with, "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a response. I just needed you to know that I finally see what we did. And I'm sorry." I read it 3 times, looking for manipulation, for hidden demands, for the catch. But it seemed genuine. As genuine as someone like my mother could be. I showed it to Emma. "What do you think?" "I think she's finally seeing the truth. Whether it's too late is up to you." Part of me wants to respond, to accept the apology. And the other part knows that acknowledging doesn't mean reconciling. I can accept her apology without letting her back into my life. That sounds healthy. I wrote back. 1 page. "I received your letter. I appreciate the apology and the acknowledgement. But I'm not ready for contact beyond this. Maybe someday. Maybe not. I need you to respect that." I sent it through the attorney. Didn't hear back. Didn't expect to. A year after I bought the lake house, I sat on the dock on my 33rd birthday. Emma had thrown me a small party the night before. Just close friends. Cake, good food, better conversation. Carlos gave a toast about courage and new beginnings. Maya gave me a framed photo of all of us at the lake. It was the best birthday I'd ever had. That morning, alone on the dock, I thought about everything. The forgotten birthdays of my childhood. The lavish parties I'd watched from the sidelines. The years of feeling invisible. The breaking point. The battle. The cost. And I thought about what I'd gained. Peace. Genuine relationships. Self-respect. A home that was truly mine. Freedom from people who saw me as a resource rather than a person. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the sunrise over the lake, posted it with a caption, "1 year ago today, I bought myself a birthday present. Best decision I ever made." The comments came quickly. People who'd followed the story. Strangers offering support. Friends celebrating with me. But the validation didn't matter as much as it once did. I didn't need the world to understand anymore. I knew my truth. I'd learned something crucial over that year. You can't fix people who don't think they're broken. You can't make people love you the way you deserve to be loved. You can't sacrifice yourself into mattering to people who've decided you don't. But you can choose yourself. You can set boundaries. You can walk away. You can build a new life with people who see your value. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. It's the difference between surviving and living. Family isn't determined by blood. It's determined by who shows up for you, who celebrates your success instead of resenting it, who asks how you are and actually listens to the answer, who remembers your birthday. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is freedom from toxic people, even when they're family. Especially when they're family. The people who truly love you will never make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. They'll never see your success as their loss. They'll never demand you set yourself on fire to keep them warm. And peace, I've learned, isn't found in winning arguments or changing people's minds. It's found in walking away from people who refuse to see you. In building a life so good you don't care if they approve. I looked at the photo on the mantle, the one Margaret's son had sent. Her and her husband in 1973, standing on this very dock, looking happy and free. Next to it, the new photo Maya had framed. Me, Emma, Carlos, and Maya. All smiling genuinely. Different families. Same dock. Same healing. My phone buzzed. Text from Emma. "Coffee's ready. Come inside before it gets cold." I smiled, stood up, and walked back to my house. My home. The one I'd chosen for myself. The one that represented the day I finally decided I mattered. I'd spent 32 years believing my family's narrative. That I was less important than Derek. That my needs didn't matter. That I existed to support someone else's dreams. Buying that lake house wasn't about revenge or spite. It was about finally rejecting that narrative. About saying, for the first time in my life, I matter too. My dreams count. My happiness is worth pursuing. And you know what? They were right. To be afraid of me choosing myself. Because once you stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full meal, you become dangerous to people who need you small. My family needed me small, manageable, grateful for scraps, willing to fund Derek's endless failures without complaint. I chose to be whole instead. And it cost me the family I was born into, but it gave me the family I deserved, the life I earned, the peace I'd always needed. Looking back, I'd make the same choice every single time. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to choose between being yourself and keeping peace with people who don't see your value? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming and finding peace. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there realize they're not alone, and that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Take care of yourselves out there. You matter more than you know.